Africa is said to be the next frontier in many aspects, and it's no surprise that music from across the continent is competing globally. From the days of when music was an integral part of our cultures and traditions to the 21st century, where artists from across Africa are making the music pay, we've come a very long way. African music is such a viable revenue earner and a source of income that many are trooping in to take advantage of the numbers. This is where music streaming comes in. The concept of music streaming became a reality in Africa in 2013 when Spinlet, a Finnish music streaming platform that started in 2006, was acquired by two Nigerian investors in 2011 and later launched in Nigeria. Since the debut of music streaming platforms, digital music revenues are achieving record levels of growth. Contributing to this is that while primary markets mature, emerging markets are streaming and are appearing everywhere. In this regard, Africa is seen as an emerging market, and according to the CSAC Collections report, digital collections grew by 32.5% in the past 5 years. Streaming has disrupted the music industry, our patterns of music consumption, music marketing, and even consumer behavior. It has succeeded in aggregating content by easy accessibility. So where is the money? And who is making the money? Today, we're getting into the business of music streaming. I'm Tolulope Adeleru-Balogun. Welcome. This is Business Edge. Now joining me on today's show is Akinyemi Ayinoluwa. He is a partner, corporate media and entertainment at Hightower Solicitors and Advocates. Akinyemi, welcome to Business Edge. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, good morning, Lagos. Thanks for having me on your show. Good morning.
All right, good morning. So let's get straight into this. So in recent times, we've seen an influx of some of the biggest names in music in terms of the corporate entities coming to the continent. Universal Music Group, Sony Music, Warner Music Group, and many others are taking music coming from the continent much more seriously now. What has changed? What's bringing them to our doorstep?
Yes, the last couple of months, the last 18 months, it's been a very interesting environment, music environment or music market in Africa, in Nigeria particularly. The new sound of Nigerian music, popularly known as Afrobeats, has been catching roots in many territories. And you know, when this music goes out there and is performing well, a lot of these big players, a lot of these multinationals in music, they take note of what the sound is, and they want more of that sound. It is just capitalism being at play. This music is so good, and it is taking roots in different parts of the world, in Asia, in America, in Europe. Well, can we get more of this kind of music? And that is the reason why they come over to Nigeria, to Lagos, to Ghana, Accra, and they are setting up shop to be able to, cultivate those types of music all over again, to have those types of music on their catalog, and so that they're able to exploit those types of music. And also they are looking to forge new relationships with talent on the continent, particularly from Nigeria. And you can see how that has played out with, the signing of the likes of Wizkid, Burna Boy, Davido, Olamide, Omale. Most of these guys, when they come up with great music that is taking roots all over the world, the bigger players in music distribution, or the record labels or the record companies would usually want to have relationships with them to be able to make the business a lot easier for them, and also to be able to take the music further than it has already done.
Okay.
The celebration we have with the likes of CK and Wizkid, I believe, would not have been possible if not for these types of relationships.
All right, and you're referring to the fact that now Wizkid is the most streamed artist on Spotify, and CK has the most streamed song in sub-Saharan Africa. A song that was actually released, I think, about 2 years ago, if I'm correct?
Yes, the song has been around for a while. I think 2019, last quarter 2019, and has gone through many iterations. There are so many versions out there of CK's song, and surprisingly, in 2021, the song has just chosen to be something else. It's been unprecedented to see a song move in that manner, especially in the Afrobeat or in the African music scene.
All right, so let's talk about this because business is a game of numbers. So in 2020, several platforms reported that streaming accounted for between 65 to 75% of direct global music sales revenue. Statistica reports that the revenue generated by streaming increased by around 9% year on year. Do we have the numbers for how much of that revenue is coming from the continent that is sort of that can sort of correlate the activity we're seeing now from these international music groups?
Well, I think the African music marketplace is still growing, and the internet data penetration is also expanding. We have more people using phones. Also, the number of people are adopting the use of the internet for music consumption is also increasing by the day. And that is why, if you look at the last 12 months, a lot of music distributors, such as Spotify, are coming into different African countries to set up shop. And it tells you that, there has been some kind of incremental growth that will keep on increasing. There will continue to be an expansion of the base of people who consume music via the internet. So as for when the African continent is compared with the European market or the American market, I believe those other marketplaces have already gone further ahead of us, and they've already expanded and built up a system where the majority of music consumption comes from streaming or comes from all these distribution platforms that are already in place. In Nigeria and Africa, most of these platforms like Apple Music or Spotify, maybe they still came in like maybe less than 3 years ago. So it will take a while. But in Nigeria, we've had the likes of Boomplay. Also, you can remember Spinlet was around like maybe almost a decade ago. So it is still a journey. And as for the streaming money that comes from the continent, I can't really place a finger on that because I'll be waiting to lean on maybe reports. But I know that a lot of streaming revenue comes from outside of Africa, and a lot of talented African artists who have the streaming numbers are making a killing off
those numbers.
The consumption of music on these platforms.
Okay, we're gonna get to that because there are a lot of people questioning whether or not African artists are really making that money. But let's talk about this boom. It's also part of a wider conversation about the African creative industry and how that is booming, whether it's Nollywood or Kannywood or the South African cinema industry as well. So a recent report by UNESCO said that the African film and audiovisual industry could generate over 20 million jobs if fully exploited. And that's just one sub-segment of this creative industry. And when you look at the music aspect of it, what kind of employment opportunities, what kind of jobs are we talking about that are opening up because Africa's music industry is also opening up?
Yeah, the thing is, with music, it is very, very collaborative. With any superstar you can name off, there are actually like maybe 10 people directly connected to that superstar. And to the 10 people, you probably have like five other people. Now, for instance, let's take a Wizkid. Wizkid's inner team, they'll be like 10 to 15. And I'm talking about his inner caucus of producers. I'm talking about his mixing engineer. I'm talking about his tour manager. I'm talking about his talent manager, his publicist, his lawyer, and many other people that actually directly earn from working closely with Wizkid. Same thing with Burna Boy and Davido. So I'm talking about the top ones now. Even when we look at the second tier or third tier talents, there would always be the need to have a circle of creatives collaborating with them around the clock. Even the top tier influencers, the second tier influencers, a lot of them need photographers, they need camera guys, they need video editors, they need sound guys, they need online influencers to push, they need publicists, they need stylists. So even a Tiwa Savage, a Yemi Alade, any of this, Niniola, any of these superstars you see behind all the success that they project or the success that they accomplish, there are tens of other people who are working around the clock to make sure that it remains a going concern. So if we can get it right and provide an enabling environment, we'll know that, okay, if we have like 50 global superstars in music, in film, we know that, yes, directly to those 50, there are probably like 10 to 15 people that have, their direct source of livelihood connected to these 50 global superstars. And when I mean global superstars, I'm talking about people who are already making money at the level of David Wiz and Burna Boy, or in the film sector, the likes of Genevieve, the likes of Omotola, who, they are box office superstars. So there's a lot of potential, particularly because I'm biased to music. There's a lot of potential. In fact, this past 3-4 months has really, really demonstrated that. Over the weekends, we've been seeing like 7 Nigerian superstars touring in the US. Adekunle Gold, Davido, Wizkid, Tems, Omale, Pato Rankin, even DJ Spinall, and the likes. So the more we have, the better for the music industry. And if we have more, because I see these guys as global ambassadors for Nigeria, I see them as culture exports. And anytime they move out of the country, trust me, some people are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for their services. And yeah. I assume that a lot of that money comes back to Nigeria with them. It goes into investments. Somehow the money trickles down. It trickles down.
So that trickle-down effect. So there's another part of the trickle-down effect I want us to talk about. And you talked about partnerships, and that's the telco conversation that's happening with music streamers. But we'll get into that after the break. It is an enabling environment that we need. It's partnerships and collaborations that can take the African music scene global. Cultural exports, music exports that bring back money to the continent. We'll continue this conversation looking at the business of music streaming on Business Edge right after this. Still with me is Akinyemi Ayinoluwa, partner at Hightower Solicitors and Advocates, entertainment lawyer. So Akinyemi, I want to get into this conversation about the telcos and the streamers now. So as the numbers are being recognized, we're seeing music streamers turn to African telcos to make listeners pay. The continent's domestic digital music business partnered with leading regional and national telco operators to give the sector a boost. Now, according to the IFPI, actors such as MTN Nigeria, with 17 million subscribers, and Safaricom, with about 10 million subscribers, have helped build a sizable ring-back tune market. International record companies are establishing strong local direct relationships with local partners, telcos, aggregators, local services, publishing societies, and independent labels. So, Akinyemi, the question now is, how are these partnerships paying off for the music industry at large?
Yeah, I believe the more hundreds of thousands of dollars we can capture, the better. Usually when you go into a partnership, it is supposed to be a win-win arrangement. If the telco is able to make their platform available for legitimate consumption of music, then it helps to help usher in more money for the owners of the music catalog. And yes, if they already have direct access to millions of people through technology, they know that through a proper payment plan, they can make music available for people to consume. And when people consume the music through the power of technology, they have the right kind of information to, segue into how the money gets to the owners of the catalogs. Then the better for the music industry. Then the record labels will be able to profit off the consumption of music. The music publishers as well will be able to get their share of the royalties that will be generated. And then the owners, then the talents themselves. And I mean the songwriters, the record producers, and the recording artists everybody will be able to get their chunk, their own share of the pie eventually. So it is good, instead of losing money to piracy and many other distribution channels that monies cannot be accounted for. It is best we have reputable organizations like the telcos enable music consumption to go legit. Okay. And if the pie gets bigger, the better for everybody involved.
So you've mentioned two things I want to take up on, and that's the music catalog owners, not always the artists now, sometimes the music labels, but you also mentioned piracy. And this is a long-standing issue for the African continent, and we have to be honest. Many Africans still get their music from illegally downloading their favorite artists. The music market is booming for streaming and downloads, but there are challenges. Internet penetration is a challenge. Right now, it's just about 29% of the African population on the continent that use the internet. Then you have data prices. That's another challenge that the industry will see when it comes to streaming. But we've also seen that the providers are trying to come up with some solutions, some ways around that. How do you think they're using technology to get around some of what might be infrastructural and contextual challenges of the industry here in Nigeria and across the continent?
Yeah, a lot of people have said that, Africa leapfrogged. Usually we should have gone through so many processes before where we are now in terms of how the use of the internet is being adopted. So one thing I know for sure is with technology, usually problems get solved faster. The problem of piracy, it is still very evident, but again, I think with time, already a lot of people, you can't really pirate their stuff, because if you put it on all these illegal channels, there is a mechanism to just bring down that platform because it is unauthorized. It's just that not many record labels in Nigeria are investing in that kind of solution. So, but again, piracy still exists. A lot of blogs still put out albums upon albums for free streaming, for free downloads. That's still a problem. But I think the consumer behavior of, people who want to consume music is starting to change. A lot of people are starting to acknowledge the importance of, paying a subscription on a monthly basis. And gradually there's just that shift going on day in, day out. People want to be cool. They want to be seen to have a specific distribution or music channel where they consume their music. Yeah. They want to be able to access some of the offerings that are exclusive to those who pay the subscription. And I think that maybe in like 3-5 years time, music piracy could just be a thing of the past. But again, in music and in film, it isn't really particular to Nigeria or Africa. There are still many distribution platforms that are illegitimate, that are still, streaming music and film for free, even outside of Africa. So I don't think this is really like a Nigerian thing or an African problem, but it's just that we need to expand the base of people who want to legitimately consume music in Nigeria or in Africa. And I believe with time, the adoption is still going to expand. We'll have more people in the consumer base, and then we'll have more people contributing to that pool of thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars that that is being paid, or millions of dollars actually, that is being paid monthly to enjoy music.
All right. So, I've said this is a conversation about numbers. So let me give you some numbers. According to the website's WeTracker, there are currently more than 25 streaming platforms operating across the continent. These include services such as Bloomplay, which has about 50 million users, but also smaller providers, including Makito in Tanzania, Songa in Kenya, and Udex in Nigeria. PwC, in a report, projected that consumer spending on recorded music revenues would hit $43 million in Nigeria and $19 million in Kenya in 2020. And we're still waiting to see if that's what has happened. But the big question for many people, Akinyemi, can you really tell us that Nigerian artists, South African artists, Kenyan artists, Tanzanian artists are really getting paid with their music on the streaming platforms, with the partnerships happening with the telcos and the streamers? Are they really getting a fair chunk of what is their intellectual property, what is their copyright that's being put out?
Yeah, I think so. Particularly streaming really favors those who have been able to get the attention of the public or those who have a very big fan base. It favors, the A-list talents who have millions of monthly listeners. They are the ones that get a larger chunk. In fact, there was a study I read some time ago which says 1% of the talents get like 70 or 69% of the benefits. So wow. We have unicorns like Adele, like Drake, even a Wizkid is a unicorn as well because he's got a very big fan base that is dedicated to him, that is devoted to him, and then they listen to him religiously. So he has millions of monthly listeners on Spotify. Yeah. So yes, those are the people that get the largest chunk of whatever the benefits are from all this streaming money. So they get hundreds of thousands of dollars on a monthly basis or even quarterly. So musicians without a big listening audience will not be able to play at this big stage for now until they're able to build their fan base or build their audience or their listenership. So I think streaming favors people who are already established, who have a dedicated audience. For those other types of musicians who do more of live performances or live shows or festivals, streaming might not be a veritable
stream of income
compensation for them.
All right.
For those, they have to be on the road constantly and doing shows to make their money.
All right, so we have to go, but I quickly would ask you to give me your projections, your predictions for this industry across the continent in the next 5 years. 2 or 3 sentences that really put forth what you believe this industry can become in the next few years.
Yes, so I believe in the music industry, 2021 has been like the most glorious time in music that I've witnessed, and I've been around for a while. So I believe it will keep getting better. It will continue to expand the base, and more people get to adopt the use of legitimate sources for the consumption of music. I believe more money would be pumped into the system, would have more investors willing to invest to build up more talents, more music catalogs. And I think in about 5 years' time, we'll have bigger and better talents than we can see now. About 10 years ago, we had P-Square, The Banj, and Two-Face Divya. Now we have Wizkid, Burna Boy, and Davido. And I'm sure in 5 years we'll have, a complete new set, and they will really, really be dominating the Nigerian music industry. And I can't wait to see that.
Yeah. All right, Akinyemi, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be keeping our eyes out on the numbers and how they play out for the African music industry. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your time. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. And this conversation is one that does involve some things outside of the music industry's control. As I said earlier, you have to deal with the issue of piracy, data prices, and internet penetration. And just for us to know, most artists have been losing revenue because of their music being illegally downloaded. Just 72 million pounds in license and usage fees were collected by the African continent in 2018. 1%. Just 1% of all global revenue. Now, the business of music streaming is all about the numbers. With more than 25 music streaming platforms and more coming into the continent, African music is poised. African music is poised. Let me say that again. African music is poised to experience a music streaming revolution. 72% of these are homegrown, while 28% are international. By 2024, Africa's music streaming revenue is expected to hit a 12% annual growth that will see the market reach a volume of $822 million. We need to watch out for that. Something else we need to watch out for is NC4 to watch. Stay with us. And a few stories we're keeping our eyes out on, and we start with the price of crude oil, which on Monday hit its highest multi-year level as demand recovered from the COVID-19 pandemic, and high natural gas and coal prices enabled users to shift to fuel oil and diesel for power generation. Now, Brent crude futures went up 59 cents to $85.45 a barrel after hitting $86.04 the highest level since October 2018. WTI crude futures rose 90 cents to $83.18 a barrel. The Central Bank of Kenya has announced the issuance of guidance on climate-related risk management to commercial banks and mortgage finance companies. The guidance is intended to enable banks to integrate the opportunities and risk arising from climate change in their governance structure, strategy, and risk management frameworks. Furthermore, the bank said it will guide these institutions in disclosing climate-related information to their stakeholders. Econet Wireless Limited of Zimbabwe has said that the state of erratic power supply has led to an increase in carbon footprint and the hike in the cost of doing business. And finally, a new survey of tourism accommodation suggests that tourism and business travel in South Africa continue to recover strongly, and the occupancy rates of hotel and tourism accommodation and revenue earned from accommodation are still way below normal pre-COVID-19 levels. The latest Stats South Africa report on tourism accommodation shows that the number of nights sold in different accommodation types, from hotels and guest houses to caravan parks and campsites, as well as breakaways on farms and other types, increased by 134% in August 2021 compared to August 2020. And it's a wrap on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. Head to YouTube and subscribe if you've missed any of our conversations, and download our mobile app so you can take us with you wherever you go. Until next time, I'm Tolulope Adeleru-Balogun. You have a good one.